one of the questions that I get all the time um, is, hey, what should I do about my student loans? Coming out of school, oftentimes my clients have large student loan balances. And so there's this period of time where they have no money. And then all of a sudden they know they're going to be having a huge spike in income. And then they worry like, I gotta, catch up and be perfect with my money and pay off these student loans, but also save for retirement. And it just gets really, really stressful for my clients because there's so many different voices out there. There's so much opinion on what you should do. Oh, start early. If you don't start early, then the investments aren't going to do what they need to do. But student loans, you got to take care of those as early as possible as well. And these conflicting messages often make people do nothing and kind of procrastinate any plan at all. Okay. And so one thing that I have seen after working with, CRNAs for 15 years is that the ones that really succeed, they just have a couple things in common. One is they're intentional. They have some plan. It's not a perfect plan. The ones that have a perfect plan realize that lack of flexibility actually causes them, if something goes amiss, then they just give up. Okay. So I always recommend kind of a split plan. The first thing to do though is you have to understand what your free cash flow number is. And what that means is you're going to be earning, say, $350,000 as a contractor. Well, that's not all your money. Some of that first has to go to taxes. And so you have to know what your tax burden is on that money. That's step one. Is it's going to be your largest expense. And so you got to know what that is. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to have a pretty good sense of what you have to give to the IRS in California for taxes. Then you have more of a understanding of, you have to look at what your rent is, mortgage, bills, insurance, minimum credit card payments, like your need to payments, and understand what that is. Then you have, taxes, take away your, what you have to pay in your life. Then you're left with free cash flow. And I see people sometimes get really excited with that free cash flow because they know, hey, I've paid the taxes, I've paid my rent and my insurances or whatever, and now I'm going to go and spend it all on a super expensive car and a super expensive, trips and stuff like that. I'm not saying don't do those things. However, the best approach, in my opinion, is a balanced one where you say, hey, I want to take some of this free cash flow and I want to do something that's going to, my future self is going to be grateful to me for. And so I always say, take that and kind of split it. If you have really heavy student loan balances in the six figures, I would say 65% of your free cash flow should go to student loans and 35% into retirement savings. That helps you get in the habit of saving for retirement. It helps you get in the habit, but also do much, much more than maybe just the minimum payments on those student loans. So that feels good. And if they're at 8%, that's an immediate 8% return on that money right there. It's a guaranteed. And then you're also going to be in the market, which should hopefully be getting better than 8% return. So you're kind of balancing out this approach. What am I going to do with my money? Also, it helps you stay disciplined. I'm not saying stay eating rice and beans and rice like a starving student. However, you should know and get used to the fact that these loans come at a huge cost. And yes, it's fun to live it up, but and you can even build, before you even come up with this, as part of your free cash flow number, you can put in there a little bit for travel and life experiences for sure. But this type of thinking is not super extreme. And I know that the voices out there are often very extreme when it comes to money. There's someone, and a lot of them are financial advisors. Nothing against financial advisors, but a lot of them they want your money because they earn a commission on that money. So there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there already. And what they're saying is not wrong. Hey, give us money, we'll invest it, get you a rate of return, and the earlier you start, the better. That's a true statement. But there's also other factors to be considered as far as just the mental load of having debt payments. Okay. That in itself can often have, a non-monetary huge value to get rid of student loans as quick as possible. And so I've had clients that go super aggressive and pay them off in 1 year or 2 years. And we're talking huge balances. And then they go, and they feel better. Most, though, balanced approach. Get in the habit of doing both, but understanding just what money you have to work with. High level, does not have to be perfect. We're not talking counting the number of Starbucks you're getting or anything like that. Not that detailed of budgeting, but just high level, some numbers to work through so that you know. And you have to start with taxes, Kate. That is the first number. So you got to figure out, as a contractor, there's various taxes that you're going to be paying that, take away out of that free cash flow number. So figure that one out, then back into what do you have to pay? What do you have to use in your life to pay down these different things and to pay into retirement and all those things? So I think, and I always tell my clients, yes, you have a pretty big hole to fill. Luckily, you have a large shovel. The income potential of a CRNA contractor in California is amazing. So you can fill what seems like a huge hole pretty quickly if you just have a little bit of proactive approach to it. So hopefully that helps you just take some stress and some worry. I think flexibility and intentionality are the two things that set you up for success when you're coming out of school and you have this decision to make. What do I do with this extra cash? Retirement, student loans, how do I work through this? This is what I tell my clients to do. And it gives them a direction, especially for the first couple years, to feel like they're moving forward. And then they can also, take some of that mental bandwidth and focus on the job at hand. They're newly minted CRNAs. That's a lot of mental, energy going into learning your craft and becoming good at your craft too. And I think that's where most of your energy should be going. The other stuff can kind of be set and forget once you have these ratios down.